Art Sazama. Sazama.
It's pretty close.
Pretty close. Why don't you say it for us?
Sazama.
Sazama. Okay, got to get that little inflection in there. And hopefully you'll hear a rooster or two crowing in the background. We're out in kind of a beautiful rural setting this morning. And Art, I want to thank you for agreeing to let us interview you. And we'll go ahead, and I always just like to get a little bit of background information as far as you said you were born in Perham.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And lived in a farm out in the Dent area, you said.
Yeah, 2 miles northeast of Dent we lived.
Okay.
Went to school in the country school.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. And I was going to ask too. What was it? Was it like a one-room?
Right, one-room school, eight grades in one room.
Okay.
Yeah, one teacher, of course.
Sure, sure. And was it one of those where the closer you sat to the wood-burning stove, the more you fried, or?
Well, we was pretty up to date. They had an oil burner stove out when I started there, but before that it was wood. But after I got there, but the water was still outside. You had to go out and pump water every day.
Okay.
So.
Just like our modern school system, huh? Yeah. Wow.
Bathrooms are outside, of course.
Sure. Yeah. Wow. What a difference. Yeah. Now you mentioned, by the way, we're in the area of the former town of Luce.
Right.
And you mentioned that your wife's parents had lived just down the road a bit. Do you know, is there anything much about Luce that you can tell us or remember at all? Or, you know, from...
Well, there used to be a cement block factory there, and there used to be a grocery store and gas station, and was several houses, you know, like probably a dozen altogether, you know, back, I don't know, 40 years ago or so.
Yeah, okay.
That's about all I remember about it, I guess.
A regular little community then.
It's pretty much the way it is right now when we moved out here.
Okay. Was it a railroad spur? Is that kind of...
Well, I don't think so, because it was on the other side of, Luce is on the other side of the railroad tracks, on the other side of Highway 10.
Yeah.
Highway 10 was always between the railroad tracks and Luce itself, so.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I've heard various things, and it's just kind of fascinating to me when there was a little community or town and it's basically gone.
Yeah.
You know, it's just interesting. Now, when did you go into the service?
August of 1967.
Okay. And had you just gotten out of high school?
No, I got drafted. I worked after I was out of school. I worked many years before I went in the Army.
Okay.
I waited for him to come get me.
Okay. All right. And what kind of job had you been doing mostly?
Oh, worked for implement dealers and drove truck and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mechanic work.
And then you got a wonderful little letter in the mail that said, let's see, how
greetings.
Yeah, greetings, that's right. Yeah, exactly. You got your little greetings letter. Yeah. Yes, yeah. You knew that was coming.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah. Did you have, if I recall, in '67, they hadn't implemented the number system yet, had they? No. Okay.
The draft was the full one.
Right. Even knowing it was coming, do you remember anything about getting that letter or anything?
Well, not a lot, I guess. We'd just been married. Not even a year before that. I got our first wedding anniversary I spent on KP and in basic training.
Oh dear.
But,
oh wow. Not ideal.
But that's the way it was back then, you know.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Where did you go to basic then?
Fort Lewis, Washington.
Okay.
From there we went for AIT to Fort Huachuca, Arizona.
Okay. For AIT, you said...
Advanced Infantry Training.
Okay. Just like to clarify all those. Yeah. Okay. So it was indeed the infantry then that you wound up going in?
Well, wound up going driving truck.
Right, that's it. Yeah, I'm getting ahead of us there, but yeah, I remember now. So yeah. Okay, so tell me anything you remember or impressions of boot camp, basic training.
It was pretty tough. You did what you were told, and if you didn't, you wish to hell you would've.
That's pretty well put, I think. Might just have to have that as a quote. Okay.
I don't know if it's that way nowadays. I don't think so, because back then, when you got in the Army, you didn't get out unless you really screwed up bad. But nowadays, I guess you can quit pretty much any time you want. Maybe not during wartime now, but.
Okay. Yeah. Had you traveled at all prior to going into the
Never.
service?
I don't know if I even left the state of Minnesota until I got in the Army.
So this must have been all quite new and
Yeah,
an
right.
experience for you.
Yeah. It was a whole new thing.
Did you travel by bus or train as you left?
Well, we left Fergus Falls by bus, and we got a train, like to Fargo. And then we flew from Fargo to Minneapolis.
Okay. And I'm assuming never had been in an airplane
Never,
before?
no, never been in a train before either.
Okay. Okay.
And then we flew overseas, Thailand that was, so,
Mhm.
of course.
Now, from Fargo, or let's say when you got to Fargo, do you remember anything about what took place when you guys arrived there or anything like that?
Well, not really. They gave us another physical, to see if you were still warm,
Yeah.
That's about all you needed to be back then was, you got a warm body, you were going. Otherwise, I don't know. We only spent maybe 5-6 hours in Fargo, then we were on a plane to Minneapolis, and from there, I don't know where we flew to. But eventually wound up in Thailand, so.
Right, right. with a fun little vacation at basic training in
Yeah.
between. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about KP duty.
Peel potatoes and wash dishes, and if you screwed up bad enough, you got to clean your grease trap.
Oh dear, I know what grease traps are. Okay.
This was a box about that big, slimy grease, lard and everything, because everything went down the sink,
Right. Right. Wow.
So.
And you always associate the peeling potatoes with KP. Is that really? I mean, is that
Definitely.
That's just
Yeah.
potatoes are a large part of the diet.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think we got peeled like 100 pounds. There was always 2 or 3 of us did it,
Right. Right.
But that switched around. Some days you got different jobs.
And you weren't always on KP.
No,
Right.
no,
Yeah.
they kind of had a roster. I don't know how they arrived at who did what, but everybody got to do it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just
Right.
one person or something.
Right. But you might get to have an extra turn at it if you were real lucky and
Yeah,
screwed up at
right.
something. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now the advanced infantry training in Arizona, what did that consist of in general?
Well, they tried to train you how to drive a deuce and a half truck. I don't know, it's set up like a winch system, dead man, they bury a dead man and you pull the truck up the hill with the winch, and
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff to simulate if you were stuck someplace and
Sure.
to get yourself out.
Okay.
I don't know, just a driver's training thing is 8 weeks of,
So it really was based all around transportation,
Yeah.
driving and such.
yep.
Okay. Okay. Did some people have a lot more aptitude than others for it?
Oh, definitely. A lot of people never drove a truck in their entire life, but
Sure.
it wasn't that way for me because I did that before I went in the Army, so it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, you were a shoe-in for
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, did everyone go to that to or just people they picked that they thought would know how to do?
I don't know
trucks?
how they picked the way they did pick, but that's the way I wound up.
Yeah.
No other person from AI, our basic training, was in the same unit I was in transportation.
Oh, okay, that's what I was wondering. Yeah.
There was 53 of us in my platoon, and I think there was like 150 in the company, and I was the only one that went to Arizona.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know how they picked who to send where, but
Yeah. You know, maybe on some forum or background thing or something, they heard something about you had driven truck or something. Who
No, I don't
knows?
know. I was like in the AIT with people that were bankers and stuff. You know, never had an interest or of any kind. And, but that's just the way the Army used to do things back then.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it certainly worked to your advantage to
Yeah.
be able to, you know, gotten into the truck part, I'm sure. So after the AIT, then do you? And I realize this has been a while ago, and so if you don't remember some of these things, that's great. But just kind of wondering, was there much of any breather space or whatever, or were you just off and gone? Or?
Well, when I got done with AIT, I think I had a 10 or 15-day leave. Then I went to,
Okay.
what was that, Army base in Washington? We left from there anyhow.
Okay, sure.
And then
Okay.
flew overseas.
Yeah. So you were able.
Oakland, California. Oakland, California is where we left.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You were able to come back to the area here on that leave then?
Yep.
And your wife was still living here,
Yeah,
assuming?
she lived in Permian at that time.
Right. Okay.
So that was the old days when if you wanted to come home, you paid your own way too. Nowadays, you know, they're expecting, you know, the U.S. to pay for people to come home and leave. Well, if you wanted to come home, you better have your own money, or you didn't come.
I never realized that.
Oh, yeah.
I just.
They paid your way the first time to get to where you're going, and they paid your way, like when we come back to, I think it was California, they paid your way back to Minnesota. And that was, they paid it closest airport, which was Minneapolis,
Right.
and then you found your own way from there.
They wouldn't even get you all the way back
No,
home.
no, hell no.
Well, they probably figured you were so overpaid anyway.
Yeah, I suppose. $90 a month.
Oh boy. Wow. Okay, so you had saved up enough money to be able to come back home then.
Well, I did come home on leave. We had to borrow money from the bank because, you know, $90 a month ain't a lot of money,
Yeah,
even back then.
that's right. Yeah.
So I had to borrow money to get back to Arizona on leave that time.
Mhm.
Or, let's see, I went to California. Yeah, California.
So you had to pay clear all the way from
Yeah.
California. Couldn't have even let you go before you wound up in California.
But, well, you could fly standby, so it was a little cheaper, you know.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
You weren't always guaranteed a seat, but
Mm-hmm.
I got lucky. I always flew standby, and I never had to, you know, wait for another plane to go in the
Right.
direction I wanted to go.
Right. You were required to be in uniform, if I recall, to fly standby.
Yeah,
weren't you?
yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Well, back then we were required to be in uniform whenever we left, you know.
Even the whole time you were back.
Oh, no.
No, but yeah. Okay. All right. So a couple of weeks back home, and what was it like having to leave again?
That's pretty tough, I guess, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how you explain it.
Yeah, yeah. And then you reported back to Oakland?
Yeah, we left from Oakland, California to
Mm-hmm.
Thailand.
Mm-hmm. That must have been a fairly long flight.
I remember we landed once or maybe twice, but it was actually 22 hours of flying time. I kept track of it. There ain't a lot you can do on the airplane, so.
That's for sure. Oh, I would. They'd probably put me out on a Section 8 after keeping me 22 hours on an airplane. Oh man, I hate law. I just, I've done, oof. Okay. Yeah, there sure isn't a lot you can do. Was there a lot of fear among the men, do you think? I mean, I know being guys, we're not going to show it, but do you think that it would be a fair assumption to say that throughout that plane there was a fair amount of fear going on, or not?
Yeah, I'm sure there was. It was a commercial airplane, so there was civilian people on there.
Oh, okay, sure.
There was a lot of us GIs on there, but there was a lot of just, I don't know, were they going on vacation or what they were doing,
Okay.
or why they'd be going to Thailand. There was
Yeah.
quite a few Americans in Thailand.
Yeah.
Some lived there for
Sure. Okay.
So.
Okay. So this was a commercial airline. Yeah. Did all of the GIs sit in a certain area?
Yeah, pretty much, you know, because
Mhm.
you were at assigned seat before you ever got on, so.
Right. Had kind of a block.
Yeah.
That was for the GIs.
We weren't in first class, that's for sure.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Do you remember at all roughly how many might have been on that flight that were GIs?
Maybe 20. I
Okay.
don't think any more than that.
Okay.
Just don't remember.
Not a real large
No.
contingent. Yeah. Okay. All right. And when you lit in Taiwan,
Thailand.
or excuse me, Thailand. Yes, thanks. I assume this wasn't Kansas anymore.
No, definitely. So, it's a whole different lifestyle there, you know. It's like pretty much like going to Mexico now, you know, if you go on vacation to Mexico.
Right.
Pretty primitive people walked, you know, nobody, hardly any of the people out in the country owned their own car. If they had, a lot of them had a farm tractor and they'd travel by that, they'd have kids hanging all over on the tractor going down the road and
Really.
some two-wheel trailer dragging behind it, you know. In the station, I started out in Karat, Thailand. I was there for about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, and then I got transferred to Bangkok. But that was a lot nicer there. We lived in a hotel there. So that was pretty an upgrade, I'll tell you.
Yeah, moving on up. Yeah.
Then there was only 2 people in the room, then two guys, so.
Yeah. Big difference.
Yeah, definitely.
How long were you able to keep those quarters or whatever?
Until I come back, I was in,
Really?
we was TDY. I don't know if you know what that means. That's temporary duty away from your home station. Karat was the home station, and the Bing was the transportation unit. They had a big motor pool in Thailand, in Bangkok, I should say.
Mhm.
So they moved a lot of guys there. You know.
Okay. Yeah, that was wow. So in a way, as far as accommodations, you had it
Excellent, yeah.
excellent. Yes. Was there a mess hall then for eating?
No.
I'm assuming you didn't have room service.
Well, they come in and clean their room.
Oh, I guess I meant food.
No, they didn't bring no
you
food
couldn't
there.
order room service or whatever.
No.
Yeah, yeah. But they did come in and clean.
Oh
the
yeah,
room?
they cleaned the room and shined your shoes, and that got pretty. Yeah, that was another. Once we got to Thailand, you know, they had house girls come in, and I don't know. I think we paid like $3 a month to have your shoes shined and your clothes washed and pressed. They all come back, you know, just
Yeah.
perfect. You know,
Immaculate.
they did it all by hand, you know, by
Uh-huh.
the girls. And,
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
yeah, that was kind of nice.
Yeah, I guess so.
Didn't have to shine your boots anymore.
Yeah. Now, it was about 3 to 4 months or so in, where was it?
Karat.
Karat, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now what were you doing there initially?
Well, we did about the same thing we did in Bangkok. Is just we'd hauled. It was the transportation, you know. We drove refrigeration trucks. So we'd load in and haul. We serviced all the Army and air bases in Thailand with food.
Oh, okay.
So refrigerated. We got it off the barges and it was all hauled to a central location, and the trucks would come and pick it up from there.
Right.
Distributed around to all the Army and Air Force bases. Well, in Bangkok, I drove truck hauled food for the Thai Army for about 3 months.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know, the Thai Army, I don't know if they didn't have the equipment or the refrigerated trucks, but they hired the U.S. Army to haul their food for them.
Okay.
That was kind of interesting. You travel. They usually sent one guy along with you. Of course, he didn't speak no English, so in the road signs you couldn't read them. So you'd better remember the day before where you were going, because and you couldn't understand what he was talking about, and he didn't understand me either.
Right. Right. Now, was it usually a different guy, or did you?
Oh yeah, it was a different guy every day.
So you didn't have any kind of a
Yeah.
chance to build a rapport or
No.
a working sign language thing with this person, or?
I think what the deal was mostly was some person wanted to get from Bangkok to some base someplace, and that's who they put on the truck that day.
Okay. Okay.
But I only did that like 3 days a week. I'd leave like 3 o'clock in the morning, then be back in Bangkok around noon or 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay. Wow. That's a long day. What am I trying to ask? The Thai army were involved also in the same war on
much.
our side, obviously. Were they trying to, I don't remember a lot of the geopolitical things going on. Were they defending their country against invasion too?
Yeah, there was a lot of Thai communists in Thailand too, so they kind of took care of that part of it. And we drive the truck there. We never unloaded anything ourselves. They always unloaded the truck. We just backed it in wherever they wanted, and you sat and waited until they got unloaded.
Right. And then you came back alone, or did they send somebody going the other way?
Most of the time, they found somebody else that wanted to come back to Bangkok. And
Right.
how they could haul civilians in a military vehicle, I never did figure that out. It's against all rules, but
Yeah. Well, it's against all our rules. It may not have been against. Who knows? Yeah, how they. But
Well,
yeah.
the
Probably,
U.S.
yeah.
Army knew that if that
Oh,
was
the
going
U-
on. They
that's
knew
right.
that. They knew that was going on, but I guess
Yeah, obviously it would be our army rules that would
Yeah.
apply when it was our truck. And stuff.
Yeah.
Sure, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe they classified him as a inducted guide for 12 hours or something. Yeah.
another thing, a little hard to get used to start with. All our steering wheels are on the left side of the vehicle, and you drive on the left side of the road over there.
So it's on the right.
Yeah, so your
Yeah. I mean, the
passenger
wheel.
side
Yeah.
is on the center line then.
Right.
That was a little tough to get used to start with, because you wanted to pass a truck or something, you had to really get out there a long ways before you could.
Oh, no doubt. So that just took it.
It helped if you had another GI along, he could tell you when you could pull out and pass, if it was,
Oh, that's flat out dangerous.
well, yeah. But that's,
Wow. I feel you. I guess I'd never thought. Obviously, I've been to countries where you drive, but it's like whenever you're there, the vehicle is built for that, yeah. Wow.
the military ones wasn't though.
Yes. Yeah. Of course. Wow. Yeah, that'd be quite different. And did you ever have any interesting interactions in any way, shape, or form with any of your Thai passenger people?
Well, one of them I didn't get along very good when we got the one, I forget what air base was. I always like to leave early in the morning to get headed back to Bangkok, and he didn't. So I just left him. That was not a smart thing to do.
Oh, really? Okay, that was one of those wish to hell you'd done what you were told situations, or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was more pissed off about it than the my bosses were, but. So I didn't do that again.
Yeah. Okay. Huh.
But they didn't have much respect for life there. One time there was a bus accident. There's people laying in a ditch 3 and 4 days before anybody ever come pick them up. Because it's a supposed, I was always told if you claimed that body, then you were responsible for it. So they didn't. They laid there. They get blown up like a deer does.
Yes.
It was no big deal to them at that time.
So if you claimed the body, you'd be responsible for
Burial,
taking care of
everything,
burying and all that?
And probably taking care of the rest of their family and stuff like that. So even their own people didn't claim their own relatives.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So there must have been some government organization that eventually came along and just dealt with it somehow or
I suppose,
something,
yeah.
but yeah.
Even the police didn't really have nothing to do with it. They had lots of accidents, road accidents, because they always drove like crazy, and the roads were narrow. You see an awful lot of accidents and dead people laying there, and the police didn't seem to matter too much either, unless the Queen or and King were coming. Then they just shoot everybody off the road. If you didn't get off the road, they just shot you. No bullshit.
Do you mean literally?
Yeah, if there was a bus or something in the Queen of King, they're supposed to open the road and they didn't get off the road, they just shot the driver. They didn't mess around, you know.
Yeah. Wow. That's truly amazing. Do you have any felt sense for, like, if an accident occurred, whether or not any kind of medical help was sent or anything, or do you?
If you did, you never seen it. I never seen it.
Mhm. Yeah.
We never stopped. We just, if the road was open, we just kept right on trucking.
Yeah, that would be a very different, mindset and thing to observe. That,
I remember the first convoy we went on when we got over there, Thailand. We took a bunch of Jeeps and deuce and a halves to some military base. And I think before we got there, then we had Thai GIs driving for us, or civilians, I guess they were. But they tipped over 3 Jeeps before we ever got there. You just roll them over because they just do stupid shit. You know, them old little Jeeps and A1s, they tipped over pretty easy because they were independent suspension.
Yeah.
And they turned too sharp, going too fast, and then rolled over. A bunch of guys get there and tip it back up, and hopefully they didn't hurt him. Nobody got hurt, but
They must have had some technique because they're used to tipping their vehicles over. They know how to leap which direction in time. Wow. There weren't GIs in the Jeeps. They were
No.
just driving them to get them.
They had, like, well, I suppose half of us were GIs, military, U.S. GIs, and then the
Yeah.
civilians.
Yeah. But no passengers riding with them.
No, there was
Yeah.
one person.
Yeah.
They didn't take any more than we had it, because then on the way back, we had 1 deuce and a half that hauled everybody, you know, or 2 deuce and a halves, whatever we needed to haul the people back, so they didn't take any more people than they needed
Got ya.
to get the vehicles there.
Yeah. Wow. Did you have, well, you must have had opportunities to go out and be among the Thai communities. I mean, as far as to go, sightsee or just interact with Thai people, go out to eat if you wanted to or something. Any things come to mind about all that?
Yeah, we did that a lot, like on Sundays or something, when we had a day off or something, we just kind of toured the city of Bangkok to all them Buddhist monk
Temples and
temples
things?
and stuff. Yeah, they had a lot of
Mhm.
really some pretty fancy temples and stuff, you know. The other thing about the Thais, I don't know, when you see them driving down the road, they always sat off to the side of the steering wheel. So they left room for Buddha on this side. And they'd kind of drive like this. Especially the truck drivers, the guys that were driving like their trucks or their buses. But they always left room for the Buddha to sit
Kind of
there.
like, so he'd be driving in a
He'd
way.
be driving and then the Buddha would be sitting alongside him to protect him, I guess, I don't know.
And the Buddha was sitting more
There
in
was
front
no-
of the steering wheel than the guy was.
Pretty much, but there was no person though, you know.
Oh, there wasn't even a statue or anything.
No, just an imaginary thing.
Really?
Yeah, and then you'd have these little, I don't know, temple-looking things up on the side of the mountain. And when they went past that, they'd always go like this, you know. They'd take the eyes off the road,
And hands evidently.
do their thing, you know. And of course, there was always a lot of accidents because of that, but they kept doing. They always did it.
That's fascinating. It just to hear how another culture, thinks
Yeah.
and does.
I suppose it's a lot different by now. I'd kind of like to go back there someday just to see the changes, but.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. What about food, or did you go to Thai restaurants and places and much? or-
We did once in a while, you know, but they didn't have much for restaurants. It was roadside, you know, open,
Yeah,
and well, you see the chickens hanging there by the head, you know.
yeah, with the flies and all.
Yeah, they're black with flies.
Yeah.
But the only thing we'd dare to eat on the road if we stopped was they had French fries. Their own homemade French fries. They were bigger than regular French fries, but That's pretty much what we lived on the road.
Yeah, not much that can go wrong with that, I guess. So yeah, you don't want to think what's been in the grease, but or what the grease is made of, but yeah.
We did have, buffalo was, they had
The water buffalo.
We used to buy that every once in a while, It was cheap to eat there,
What was water buffalo like?
It's kind of like a beef. It was deep fried, in little chunks. And it was edible.
When you would go to the Buddhist shrines or temples and such, did you feel welcomed or not?
Yeah, everybody looked at you, but that's as far as it went. I don't know. I guess we didn't feel uncomfortable being there, as long as you kind of did what they did,
Right. Would you, when you would visit there, would they be in, I guess you'd call it worship, or I mean, would they
Yeah,
be
a lot of the times.
So, would some of you go in and join them in that, or more just observe?
We observed. We did I have seen guys that sit down there with them, because they always sat on the floor with their feet crossed, sit on there.
Right.
You'd see them sitting on the floor there with them, but I guess me and the guys I went with never did that. We just kind of looked around and left.
In Thailand, were the leaders in kind of like those
Yeah, well, they all
the red,
all
of the people that were there at the temple? Yeah.
They were kind of dressed in those.
Oh, that's right. It isn't so much a congregation that shows up and whatever. It's people are living there. And I forgot that. Yes. Okay. Yeah. As part of a community there.
I guess all kids in the Buddhist religion have to shave their head at one time, and there's no hair, no place,
Okay.
And I don't know. You see them walking around with that orange garb on,
Huh. And totally shaven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know how many years they had to be that way, but there was older people like that too, but I don't know if they were that way all their life or.
I think if you're a monk, then don't you continue that? I think.
I
or
suppose,
something,
yeah.
Maybe, but yeah. Okay. Huh. Now, let's take either Karat or Bangkok. As far as when you were in the city itself, were there still like animal-drawn transportation and stuff there, or was it by that time pretty much all vehicular?
It was a lot of vehicles, but there were paddle bikes, where one guy would have this three-wheeler, and he'd haul like two people, and then he'd paddle.
That's right.
And, we used to ride on them every once in a while. Give that poor guy a hell of a load on times to paddle that bike hauling two GIs, But that was his job, He paid him a little bit, which wasn't much.
Yeah. Yeah, because a couple of American GIs are probably going to weigh more in general than a couple of Thai people.
Yeah, they were all small people.
Exactly. Yeah.
But they were workers. The Thai women, I think, work harder than the men. You'd see when they're building a building or something, they'd carry them buckets of concrete up, or makeshift scaffold,
Out of bamboo, right?
Yeah.
The scaffolding usually.
Yeah, and then they had these things they put around their shoulders,
Yoke
they carry
type
a
things.
bucket of concrete and walk up that.
And that would be the women's job.
Yeah, women did that most of the time that I seen.
Could you bring me a bucket of concrete, Wendy? That's amazing. Wow, yeah. Huh. What were the buildings like?
A lot of the hotels were built a lot like they are here, 30 years ago,
Right.
Because everything was all concrete, of course. Or a lot of stuff around here is wood and stuff. But
Right. Okay. Those would be hotels and such would be
in the big city.
in the big city,
Yeah.
and those are geared in general for foreigners and such.
Yeah.
Did you observe much about just regular little corner businesses or homes or anything like that?
Well, like on the main street, you've probably seen on TV where they had opened these doors up and it's an open market thing. There was a lot of that, and then they lived in a little shack behind there, And of course, they never had glass windows or nothing because it never ever got colder. I don't think it ever got below, 60 at the lowest. So they never needed a lot of
Protection or
protection
enclosure
from the
like
weather,
that.
yeah.
Okay.
Out in the on the roadsides, they'd see these guys did, their house, their shacks were built on stilts above the water. Of course, the water underneath, that was their sewage system though too, you know. And their bathing situation most of the time. But you see kids swimming in the same thing that they
Yeah.
use it for a bathroom.
Right. Interesting. Now, were there lots of, I'm just assuming, but lots of rice paddy and all that, just everywhere you look? Yeah. And there you would see, now you mentioned a lot of farmers had tractors and such.
Not a lot of them, but
Not a lot, some.
I suppose they're better to do ones had tractors, but
Right. Most of it was ox?
yeah,
water.
yeah,
Mhm.
or water buffalo.
Or water buffalo,
Water
rather,
buffalo,
yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah. Now, was there any kind of a, and I'm not asking if you had involvement in it or anything, but was there any kind of like a GI black market thing going on? Or
Oh,
was,
oh, definitely.
yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well,
Or what you know of it, or?
for cigarettes and alcohol, yeah, it was a big market for that. Of course, you didn't want to get caught using it.
Right, right. Was it usable as barter then? Is that kind of how it would be done, or?
Yeah, or that, or they'd pay cash. You know, if you wanted to sell cigarettes or whiskey, you know, they'd pay big money for it because in their bars they charged accordingly. You know, like at the time when I was there, we only paid 14 cents a pack for cigarettes. So I don't know if the guy was to sell them. I suppose you could get probably $3 a carton, which you only paid $1 and what, 14 cents, $1.40, I guess.
Sure,
Carton
sure.
of cigarettes then. They're American cigarettes, of course.
Right, right. That'd be a premium.
That was the premium was, yeah, and the whiskey too.
Mhm. Okay. What about? Go ahead.
You could see in the bars, you know, if you went to the bars, there was a lot of American whiskey on the shelf, so they got it somewhere or another, you know. But how
Yeah.
they got it, I don't know.
Yeah. And by the same token, who knows what, it was an American whiskey bottle and they poured their own
Yeah.
in it, but yeah.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about what you might know about the bars over there. What was did GIs and locals mix ever in bars, or was it mainly just there'd be separate bars?
It was pretty much separate bars, except that the bars all had their Thai employees, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the girls were all looking for a GI, you know, so they're trying to win you over, and
Mm-hmm.
there were a lot of hookers there too,
Oh,
you know.
yeah.
A lot of, you know,
Sure.
prostitution was legal there, but they had to be checked. They had to check in with the government. I don't know, like once a month or once every couple of weeks or something for disease.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, different lifestyle. Too.
Very different, yes. Yeah. Were bars, well, you said for the most part it was pretty separate. I mean,
Yeah.
Thai employees, but it was a GI bar. There weren't, you
There
know.
was a few ties in there, but not. You know, they didn't socialize a lot together.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of kept you distant because you didn't know, and you never wanted to go into a bar by yourself because chances are you weren't going to have any cash left.
Get rolled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The time you get out of there.
Yeah. Did you ever go to any bars that were not GI bars and see anything about how that looked or functioned for the local people or anything?
Well, I guess we walked into them, but we didn't stay, you know, but just to snoop around. And of course, what was it? Like if we was to buy a bottle of Coke, they had Coke over there. The Thai people paid 5 cents a bottle for it, and we paid 25 cents.
Really?
So if the Motorco and these guys, the little guys that come around selling Coke, we'd have the, if we had any Thai friends, you know, we'd have him buy us a Coke, you know, 'cause and they'd do it too, you know.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I suppose they were making money at 5 cents a bottle yet, you know, so, but then they make big bucks when they sell it to GI for 25.
Big bucks, no doubt. That's for sure. Wow. And was that just a commonly agreed on practice among the entrepreneurs, shall we say, kind of a thing?
Yeah,
I mean, it
yeah.
wasn't like a government regulated set
I don't
fee
think
that you,
so.
it was just, we can rip these guys off, go for it.
And another thing they always sold was bananas, because they grow it on the trees like they do apples around here, you know.
Sure, yeah.
So they'd pick bananas and I suppose off their own trees and bring them there and sell them.
Uh-huh. Oh. Now, was there ever any trouble or anything that you know of as far as, for instance, when you were, if I understand correctly, right, in Vietnam, there'd be the Viet Cong, or, there'd be a situation where you really didn't know who was or wasn't your friend. Was there any element of that in any of the settings you were around, or?
Well, when we went north, north of Karat, we always carried loaded rifles in the truck, because you never knew somebody's gonna try to steal it.
Right.
In fact, they had it while I was there. They did lose the whole 5-ton truck and trailer loaded with whiskey. They never did find the truck or the trailer or none of the booze.
Oh.
That's when they went back to at least one GI in every truck, because they had regular.
They had just turned it over to a Thai person to
Thai
send,
person.
and he just
We're driving alone, so that's big bucks, to steal a whole. I suppose the truck, they figured they got took in the mountains someplace, and they disassembled that and sold the truck for parts on the black market, and you know what happened to booze,
Exactly. Oh, wow.
Whole semi-load of whiskey was.
I mean, that must have been just, unimaginable amounts of money. Yeah.
So after that happened, then there was no more. There had to be at least one GI in that truck. And,
Wow.
or two was. Sometimes it would be Thai, but.
Now, was there any threat, though, of physical violence or anything as far as someone turning, being some Thai person that might be in the government's employ turning out to be like a, subversive or something like that, do you know? Or?
I never seen too much of that. A lot of times they'd stop the trucks, like when you come through some of these little villages. I don't know, we just kind of shifted down a couple of gears and kept right on trucking, so they got the hell out of the way.
But they would get out there and try to stop.
Yeah, they actually stand right in the middle of the road, but when they seen you weren't going to stop, they did bail out. But,
wow.
So we never did stop to see what they was going to do.
I was going to say, so you don't know their intent.
No.
They probably were going to fleece you for a passage fee or something.
Well, they're talking to you. There's a couple of guys on the back end, and they're opening up the truck and helping themselves.
Yes.
And they wouldn't let you out of the truck, so.
Right. Okay. That's when you have a GI with a loaded rifle in the back when they open it up, and they'll learn better. But yeah, okay. Huh. Did that continue even after they learned you just weren't going to stop? Did they just keep on trying?
They always kept doing it, but.
I suppose they'd run across somebody now and then that.
Yeah, it stopped, and then they'd steal whatever they could in a short time.
Right.
Gas was another thing, they always stole the gas from the military, And when I first got over there, all their 5-ton trucks were gas engines. But before I left, they were pretty much all switched over to diesel, so that was, you just don't want to go siphoning diesel fuel like they did the gas.
No.
I suppose don't taste nearly good.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, wow. What would they do? I mean, did every truck have a locking gas cap thing, or did that?
No, they didn't. Batteries was another thing. If you left the truck unattended, they'd steal your batteries and the gas.
Yeah.
So we always kept, whenever we stopped on the roadside to eat, there was always usually more than one of us, and then more than one truck, plus we'd sit someplace where you could always see the trucks.
Right.
Because you were in kind of trouble if somebody did steal your truck and your gas while you were sitting there,
I can well imagine. I can well imagine that wouldn't go over well. That's for sure. Well, I've got some other stuff I'd like to maybe keep talking about and stuff, but I noticed you had some things written down.
Yeah, I guess I just had some dates when I went in and stuff, but I guess that's.
Well, if they're important to you, you can share them with us. But dates or facts or figures.
Well, I just had the dates when I went in, got drafted, and I got back in March. I spent 14 months in Thailand.
Okay.
I extended. Well, there was a year tour, but I extended for 2 months to get out 5 months early. That was the deal they had going on. That if you stayed overseas longer, you didn't have to pull no stateside duty when you got back. So.
Gotcha.
So when I got back, I was out.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like that was a good deal, especially for you.
A lot of guys took that.
Yeah.
It amounted to 60 days extra. For me in Thailand, so it was no big you were there already a year, so.
Yeah, you knew the ropes and
Yeah.
had systems going and such. And when you would haul to the bases and such, these were established and safely behind any whatever area. I mean, these bases were not being threatened with anything or whatever at that location generally, or not?
Well, at the northern part of Thailand it was. Yeah, they had armed guards all the time at the gates.
Okay.
Where, like at Karat, then they had guards there, but you know, but it wasn't as serious up there because they had a lot of Vietnamese will try to get into Thailand and Laos guys.
Mm-hmm.
We had a truck broke down one time way up north, and that was shortly after I got there. And of course they sent. We went to pick up the truck, so there was two of us left in one truck, and we towed it back. So anyhow, we wound up in Laos because we didn't. Well, like I say, you couldn't read the road signs, so you just kind of.
Yeah.
Hell, you don't know where you are really.
Yeah.
So when we found out we were in Laos, we got the hell out of here as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, probably so. Yeah.
That was quite a trip, you know. We were towing that truck and they had washboarded dirt roads, you know, and so ungodly dusty in there and rough, pulling another truck, you know. So every bump you hit, you felt it twice or.
Yeah, or 3 times
Yeah.
about, yeah.
Because the truck wasn't loaded, you know. It was towing it. It was a
Right.
5-ton
Right.
tractor style. So
So it was you and one other guy
Yeah.
that wound up in Laos.
yeah,
How did you find out you were in Laos?
I ain't sure how. I don't remember how we did that. If we did finally figure out some road sign or what the hell.
Like maybe it was a slightly different language, or who knows, but it wasn't in the form of, you know, running into an individual or any
No.
encounter thing, at least.
After we realized what we did, we'd crossed the border, and I don't remember how we knew that either for sure. We never talked to anybody while I was there.
Right.
We just made a U-turn and got the hell out.
Right. I think I would have been I mean, especially with a couple of those large trucks, it couldn't have been real easy to make well, I guess you could probably just go around a block somewhere. I was going to say, I think that'd be one of my more panicky U-turns, actually. In your situation, you probably were able to receive and send mail quite reliably, or whatever?
Oh yeah, it was all airmail, but it took like, if I sent a letter home, it'd take about 2 weeks, 3 weeks by the time you got an answer or more.
Okay. So it was a lot easier just to go on the internet and...
Well, we didn't have internet.
I'm
back then.
kidding. I mean, when you think about how different it is nowadays, like you say, it took 2 weeks to get a letter back and forth.
Yeah, so if you wanted to find out what was going home, by the time you did find out, it was...
A couple weeks old,
Yeah, at least, yeah.
Uh-huh.
A lot of times the mail would get bunched up, you'd get probably 6, 7 letters at one time, so it probably was
Months
a month
old.
or a little
Yeah.
better, you know.
Mhm. Yeah. Wow.
The stupid cat wants to go back in the house.
Yeah, I can hear that. That won't be a problem.
So,
What are you breathing a sigh of relief I didn't ask you about?
I don't want to mention that.
Yeah, I know. that's my tricky little way of probing around. No, yeah, obviously we respect any boundaries about anything, but any things I haven't thought to ask you about. I mean, see now, look at how much you did remember and know.
Yeah.
It's great. You know.
One thing kind of leads to another, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Can't think of nothing right offhand, but
What was your favorite part about being in Thailand, do you think?
no, I don't know if there was a favorite part.
That's what I was
It was
wondering.
just, I was just there because I had to be, you know.
For sure. Yeah, oh yeah, but I mean, was there anything that since you had to be there, it made it a lot better?
Oh, living in
because-
Bangkok was a real plus.
Yeah.
Because then you were just 2 guys in a room, and you went down to the kitchen in the morning and ate if you wanted to, and
Yeah.
all that.
How many days you mentioned Sundays were a day off, then were you on 6 days a week pretty much, or not?
Well, 7 if you needed to. When I was hauling to for the military, Thai Army, we always left on a Sunday morning, or Sunday night, early Monday morning or something. But most of the time you had Sundays off unless there was a truck going someplace, you know. But we had a pretty decent platoon sergeant, you know. If he told you had the Sunday off, you had it off if you had to drive that truck himself. That's the kind of
Really?
kind of guy he was.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
But he always made sure there was a couple guys around to take a truck if they needed to go someplace on a weekend.
He had a backup plan,
Yeah,
so to speak.
yeah, he always did.
If you, how am I trying to ask this? I'm just trying to think. I mean, maybe I should ask, what things do you feel have benefited you in your later life that you wouldn't have seen, known, experienced, or something from having been in that situation? Is there anything that you feel, you know, like worked to your advantage compared to had you stayed here and you know done trucking here or a rural setting or this or that compared to having that life experience? Anything that?
I don't really think so. Now that I was over there for that long, I'm glad I was there, cause just for the experience part of it. But if I had to do it again, I wouldn't want to do it again.
No, I'm sure of that. Yeah, that was what I was starting to ask, and I'm going, well, that's a rather no-brainer.
Yeah.
But I was just trying to think of, you know, if there's anything that you can see having had that life experience has been, you know, of value to you, so to speak, or something.
No, I guess not. Other than seeing how people in the other parts of the world live, you know, it was, you had a lot of respect for the way things are around, you know, in the United States after you see that.
Indeed. What would you say was, if you can speak about it, what was the worst part, or what was the worst part about having had to do what you had to do, do you think?
Being away from home.
That's what I thought.
That was the biggest thing. Like I was never away from home for, you know, like I said before, and just being married less than a year, it wasn't and when I was home on leave, my wife ended up having a baby 9 months later. So my boy was 5 months old before I ever seen him.
Oh, man.
Their first one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah, that would be very hard.
yeah, that was a little tough.
That would be very hard. You bet. What advice would you give someone that was heading into a very similar situation to that? I realize the military nowadays, there's probably not a lot of similarity, you know, to what's going on. But let's say we're back in 1970 or 60, whatever, when you got out or whatever, and someone was turning around to take your place over there. What advice would you give them?
Geez, I don't know. Try to get along with the locals would be was to your benefit, you know.
I'm sure of that.
You know, a lot of GIs treated the Thai people, you know, with a lot of disrespect, you know, and of course that don't go over good like it was the same way in the United States, you know.
That's right.
Yeah, geez, I don't really know.
Oh, I know a question I'd like to know. What was the, if you can generalize it or whatever, but what was the, not so much morale, but what was the, I guess I would try and say, political feelings among the men that you worked with on a daily basis about our involvement over there?
You know, that subject, I don't ever remember it ever coming up. You know, everybody complained about being there, you know, because they wanted to be at home or someplace else.
Sure.
And there was a lot of guys got on drugs, because drugs was pretty accessible, you know. So they got hooked on a lot of drugs
true.
and shit. Which I suppose it wasn't just because it was easy to get in and cheap.
Well, I mean, it's a very stressful situation
Yeah.
you're in. Yeah, so it's, Okay.
But I never got into the drug scene. A buddy of mine did try it he was from New York. He talked me into trying marijuana once. All that did was give me a headache. I never tried that again.
Didn't seem like a very winning proposition.
No, that didn't seem
No,
like
I
very.
can agree with you there. That's for sure. Wendy, any questions you have or thoughts about things that you were curious about as we were talking?
Just the countryside. When you mentioned mountains, it was pretty mountainous.
Yeah.
Was it?
It was, yeah. And like you say, the roads were narrow, and when it rained, with I don't know if you know what the military style tire is, you could look in the mirror, and when it was raining on the road, there was this much of that tire that was out touching the road. So if you just touched the brakes or something, that one time coming around the mountains, it was a light drizzle, and the road was real slippery from motor oil, I suppose. I touched the brakes, and the trailer come up around the side of me. I looked in the mirror, and all I seen was a star on the side of the trailer. And I had this other GI riding with me, and he was hollering at me to straighten it out, and I asked him, what the hell do you think I was trying to do? We stayed on the road, but
Excuse me just a minute.
Oh, I meant to do that.
Yeah. Oh, I never thought of that. Gosh, maybe that is a good idea. Oopsie. Now I'm laughing so much I'm malfunctioning here. When you say that there's only that, in other words, are they like overinflated or something? Or they're
well, they forced us to keep, what was it, 75 or 80 pounds of air pressure in them. Whenever nobody was looking, I let mine down to like 30, so it, the tire would squat, and there was more tire hitting the road. So,
yeah.
but it wore the tires out quicker.
I was gonna say it was about wearing out the tires, I
Yeah,
suppose.
so.
Well, it doesn't matter if you go over the cliff with the whole truck, as long as the tires aren't worn out.
But you could see it on you talk to anybody that's ever drove a military truck with that military tire on it, that rib right down the center is what you'd see leaving a mark on the highway when it was wet.
That's flat out insane.
Well, yeah, it is, but
I know, I've never heard that. No, I didn't
Right.
know anything about that. Wow.
yeah, there are roads that when it got a little rain, it was like ice around here. It's just that slippery. You really had to be careful on the brakes and coming into corners and stuff like that.
Now the roads, I'm assuming, were paved and
A lot of them were, yeah.
I mean, most
Like-
of what you traveled, yeah.
Like between Bangkok and Thailand, and
Mhm.
the bigger cities, there was paved.
Okay.
Then they had, their dirt roads were usually always muddy, especially in the monsoon season, and
Yeah.
they had a deal where it lasted like a couple of weeks, where you'd be coming down the road and the people would be standing along the road with a bucket of water and they'd throw water at you. It was just their way of doing it, the monsoon season or some shit, I don't know.
Was it with ill will, or was it just some kind of what was it about?
They did it to everybody, they did it to their own people, plus the GIs, they got a kick out of doing it to
I was
us,
gonna
you
say, it's
know?
like a prank thing?
Yeah. So, the windshields on the trucks, for air, it didn't have air conditioning, we
Right.
slammed them out, so
Right.
you get air in there. Of course, when they threw water in the truck, you know who got it first.
And I suppose they stationed themselves so they had the element of surprise.
Oh
is
yeah,
the
as
idea.
much as they could.
Yeah, yeah.
But we got smart to that after a while.
Yeah.
But it took a while to, keep
That's-
the windshields closed anyhow.
That's really funny. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't at the time, but I mean, who would think?
I don't know, that was just a tradition of theirs. They did it that certain time of year, I guess, and
Well, probably they didn't have anything else to do.
probably.
If it's that rainy, you can't be out in the fields, you can't
Yeah.
be doing anything, I suppose.
Yeah, when it rained there, it really rained.
Yeah.
You couldn't see from here to the wall in
Right.
front of you,
Right. That's their April Fool's Day or
Yeah.
something kind of thing, maybe. Wow. Well, that's interesting as heck. Huh. Were you responsible for any of your maintenance type things?
Oh, yeah, we pretty much pull all our own maintenance, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Tires and
Mm-hmm.
check the truck over and stuff like that.
Ever, did you keep in touch at all with any of the people you were over there with for a while?
I did for a while. We used to send Christmas cards back and forth, and then that kind of got further and further apart, and now I ain't talked to none of them in 15 years, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I shouldn't do that, but yeah,
It's the way life seems
Yeah.
to go. Yeah.
you got other stuff going on, and
Yeah.
I'm sure they do too. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I wound up with some really good friends, you know, living with them, the same people for so long, you know, kind of like brothers, you know.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You bet. Well, anything else you can think of? I'm gonna wish I'd asked, or
You know, I don't. I just don't remember.
yeah. Well, look at all you have. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, when we were going into this, you know,
I
didn't
hope-
think, oh, I don't remember anything. But look at this. You've done very well. You've added a lot of some very, very interesting, different things than we've ever heard. So that's pretty cool. That's
Yeah,
pretty
you stir up some things you don't think you remember.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, Art, thank you so much for
Thank
the
you.
interview and for your service to your country.
No
Thank
problem.
you. Thank you very much.